All right, looks like we're good. YouTube just gave me like a live streaming is not available. I think we're live now, so we're good. Okay, so we are good. I'll just keep an eye on that and make sure everything stays good. Other than that, let's give it a few minutes. Hopefully people jump in. What do I want to do? I want to pull up a couple things. I want to have this ready. I want to have a couple different stocks looking at least as of right now that we'll talk about for tomorrow. See how today went overall. We have some movement at least after hours. I don't think we had as much as this yesterday, or we did have a little bit pushed to the upside. But I think we may be gapping down tomorrow. So we're going to see how the overall markets do and how they look come tomorrow morning, obviously. But as of right now, futures looking a little bit red. So everything looks red. So you got, tech, Dow, S&P, even small caps are just a bit red for right now. VIX is up. Volatility is inflated a little bit, so we'll have to see how that performs tomorrow. Give it a few more minutes for people to jump in before we jump into a bunch of other stuff, because I know at least on Sunday we had a bunch of people come in late. It was funny. The stream picked up pretty decently. Second half, once we got into this hour in, it really picked up. So pick up a little bit sooner this time. Make sure if you guys are in here, make sure to hit the like button. It helps out a ton. I appreciate you guys who do so. So futures down as of right now. Let's see. SNMP steady up all day. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. After hours, it was the biggest after hours gainer at least. So SNMP, there it is. So it pretty much grinded the second half of the day, and it's looking to potentially come up and cross these highs at least. Let's take a look at what's been doing a little bit shorter time frame. Yeah, so we pushed up here. 136 is what looks like we closed at after hours, up 63%. After hours. Go to the 1 minute chart. Pretty much looks like grinder, looks like. Throughout the majority of the second half of the day. Pretty much like the morning hours we were pretty calm, and then it just grinded the second half of the day. So this one looks like it may be ready to go tomorrow. It's in that kind of energy sector as well. So that seemed pretty hot. We saw USWS also popping up as well. This is another one that popped up. So I'm kind of, some of those stocks are kind of, I have an eye on some of them. JE is one of those in that sector that I do kind of like in terms of the float and stuff like that. So it has potential to pop based off the previous, previous chart history. This thing can go. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on that one. I do have a little bit of that just in case that does decide to go. One that I am watching for sure is DGLY. So let's pull this one up. DG. We'll talk about this one more as well. This is actually more of like your kind of riot play. They make police body cameras. So this is one of those plays that can get very hot very quick as we're seeing riots heat up, and that's what we saw in the second half of the day. It got found here in the second half of today, and it's pushed up after hours. It dipped down to about 215, but it's pushed up back to 240. So I grabbed a little bit for an overnight just in case. And so my plan is that I already have a sell set on DGLY pre-market hours tomorrow. So that's one of those things. That's one of those things that you kind of have like with Webull, which is why I like Webull so much. You might get like a quick gap in that 4 a.m. to like 7 a.m. Kind of like Eastern a.m. pre-market time frame. So that's why I like it. So you might get a quick gap, potentially a push towards $3. That's why I have an order set. I believe I have an order set at 273. So I just like to get it before 275. That can be an area that we may be seeing as some resistance. Based off of what we're seeing right here, we may pop $3 could be the next level we pop up to for DGLY if we do get a bigger continued run and there's more riot stuff going on, stuff like that. So if we get a bigger pop tomorrow, that's something that I'll be watching for sure, big time. So we'll see what happens with that one. At least I'm in with a small bit of shares just for now, just to see if we can snag anything into tomorrow. Just a quick little, kind of like a scalp almost. And then, ultimately, let's take a look. Let's see. Futures are still down. So, of course, we're kind of seeing what we got there. I have some PPSI I want to talk about as well. So we're gonna see how that goes. I appreciate you guys for all hitting up in the chat. Make sure to hit the thumbs up, like this video, so that we get, this video gets pushed out a little more. I know it took a little while on Sunday for us to get going. Yes, CHFS has been one that I actually got going today as well. We can look at that one too. That one got going today. It was one that I've played in the past before. I actually haven't been in CHFS. I know it's been down a lot. We'll look at it. We'll look at this guy. Let's take a peek. We have the reverse split. So I haven't touched it since the split, but it does have a nice little gap. So it got up into this gap and it did pretty decent. So it almost, filled like half the gap. So here's the gap. So you have this gap from like 740-ish to right up in here, like low 8s, 825-ish. And it pushed to just shy of 8. So that's a decent gap fill, or it filled a decent chunk of that gap today. But let's see how it closed. It pretty much closed after hours, like around the same where it closed the day. So it finished up 10% on the day, but it actually had a bigger day if we actually were to zoom in. And sometimes people's charts are a little off. But yeah, so it closed up at 708. It hit a high of 790 on the day. That was a nice little pop for CHFS. With a lot of these pennies, it's been a tough kind of transitional. We're in like a transitional period. We've been in a transitional period, and we kind of been up and down. So I don't know. We're gonna see what happens with CHFS with a bunch of pennies right now. This is a tough week in general, because when you have like large cap stock earnings, when you have so many big time companies that report earnings, what you'll generally see is a lot more attention focused there. And when the attention's there, it's not on the small caps. So you'll kind of miss out, or you won't see as much of attention. And that's why we've been seeing this week, not many companies, and even last week too, are dropping a press release in the morning or even after hours. We're seeing a little bit of less of those press releases come in. And so when you have that, you generally have slower times. I know a bunch of China stock got hit today, at least in the afternoon sessions, and people kind of, there wasn't much to go off of. So we had a couple things, but nothing crazy. We didn't have any 1,000% runners. So that probably won't happen unless we get some crazy news in the morning this week. That probably won't happen until like post-election, I would think, because we got to get after this, let's get out of this large cap earning period. Let's also get this election, kind of behind us. And then we'll reassess and see how things are. Are things going to be similar? Are things going to be different? We're going to have to see and really assess and test the waters at that point. So we will see. Okay, we'll talk about SPAC. So SPAC's an interesting one. Let's look at SPAC. So it closed at 10 today, exactly, which is interesting. So it popped up this morning off of that news, and I had that video from this morning talking about the $1 billion cash kind of position that they'll be sitting on after the merger. And that was a pretty nice headline, so it popped up pretty well. But it's funny. SPAQ is one of those stocks, at least until the merger happens, which we have that tomorrow, so we'll see. Until that happens, until we get, I think it's until we go to FSR, until we change to FSR, it's like any piece of good news, the stock may go up temporarily, but it's come right back down. Like it's been happening this entire chop period. Like we had many pieces of good news released, and every time it would just come right back down. It would pop up pre-market, and then it would just come back down. So it's like you can almost bet on the stock to go down like every single time. And that's just kind of what the nature of it's been. But that said, I think we have this merger. We're going to see what happens. Now we have DPHC that turned to RIDE. So Lordstown Motors turned to RIDE, and it honestly hasn't been doing it. It got hit again today. So it's been kind of fallen through. So ever since they changed their ticker symbol, we've been seeing a little bit of a chop. We had a spike, and then we've been pulling back pretty hard. But we're still kind of in this downtrend. So that's kind of the sentiment right now in the overall kind of EV space, or with these SPACs, is we kind of just are selling off, it seems like, post-merger. And we're just kind of selling off, which is not ideal, but that's the space that we're in. It's going to take some time. And a bunch of these companies, like I've mentioned, they're not going to see, true growth. We're not going to see cars on the road for years, potentially, right? So SPAQ, Fisker, they have plans of having the Fisker Ocean in production, end of 2022. And is that potentially going to get moved back? I mean, I don't know, but there's a lot of time between now and 2022. A lot of things have to happen. So yes, manipulation. Yes, I think that's very, very likely here. I think that's certainly likely with even a bunch of these stocks, which I think it's awesome because you're getting an opportunity to get in at a pretty good price, especially for SPAQ. I think they're getting in an amazing price right now based on everything that's been going on, based on their deal with Magna, based on kind of how much cash they're going to have post-merger, based on all that stuff. I think this is an awesome deal. So it's going to be a longer term play though. That's just kind of how it's going to be. Let's see. Do you think the crash is coming? I'm bearish. Just my lean is bearish. Doesn't mean that I'm going to just be all in on just like, okay, short, bearish, all this stuff. Like, no. But I'm leaning that way because what do we have? Like, what good stuff? I mean, okay, you can of course point to a bunch of good things, right? But what do we really have, going for us that's, super positive right now? We have it seems to be very kind of back and forth hopium. We've got stimulus talks, right, that just have hope, but nothing's actually happening, right? We're getting, led along this whole way for months, but there's no actual deal, okay? Now, I don't want to be political by any means, but what does this say about this whole system and Congress and all that stuff? I mean, if you are just the average person, the average American person who is struggling, has got to be fed up with all this stuff. I'm sorry, either side, you can look to both sides and say, you got to be kidding me that it's taking you this long to come to some type of agreement to get relief to people who need it. So we have that's against the market. We have the volatility going into the election. People are just uncertain. What's going to happen is, what's going to happen if we have a change in presidency? Like, what does that mean for the markets? There's going to be some concerns. So I'll take a look at SPY now really quick. So there's going to be just concerns there. And also traditionally, we have seen, if you look back through history, that the markets have performed negatively in an election year, around the election time frame. Now, it would take some time post-election for them to historically come back, and I've seen a bunch of things, a bunch of articles, and I've looked at a bunch of stuff for that, and that's the case. So we're also just in a time of year right now, or a period of time where historically, it's been better to bet against the market to come down just a little bit. Now, who knows how much we actually see of a drawdown? That's the ultimate. That's who knows? I can't tell you what's going to happen, but I can at least position myself to be kind of manage that risk. That's how I'm doing it. Let's see. Let's go. So let's look at the 4 hours. See what we got. A little bit after hours stuff going on. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. So after hours we're down a little bit. We're down. We're down 0.5% here after hours. So the question now is going to be for SPY, right? So we're clearly in a downtrend. It's not perfect, right? But we're clearly in a downtrend. So I have these lines to kind of guide us a little bit. But now, do we clear out of this 335? If we clear out the bottom here of this 335, which we hit the lows yesterday, we open below that, we gap below and clear through that one tomorrow. Like, this could be another bigger drop day. We might see a further drawdown, further downside, lower lows based off of recent past couple of weeks of the SPY chart. So that's what I'm thinking for tomorrow. I'm personally, if I had to bet one way or the other, I would bet that. But at the same time, I've learned many times over now, the second you feel so kind of set on this is where the market's going down, we're going down, then that's where you can get caught in some trouble. And I've done it before. I did it last time. If we zoom out, I did it before when we had the overall, like after the first initial drop from the pandemic. If I zoom back, so here's the initial drop. So we had highs of 339 prior to the shutdowns and all that stuff. Now, there were still, the virus is getting spread and everything, but we fell down. And what I did was right in this choppy period, or this little drop down, these drawdowns, I went short, or I was shorting the market in a sense, where I was betting on the market to go down each of these times, but we continued to push up. Now, we had stimulus, we had a lot of other stuff, so I didn't really know how that was going to affect the market. And I just didn't see how can the market just recover the way that it's recovering? How could we just be seeing this massive recovery? And did I think we're going to hit all-time highs? And no. But ultimately, at some point in this time period, right, I just stopped betting against the market because I didn't want to, the second you feel too strong one way, right, the market's going to humble you. And that's happened to me many times. So that's why I have a lean, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to be, that I'm going all in. I'm still managing my risk. And that's why I like the volatility plays. That's why I like VXX, right, much more than if you were just to go short, if you were to buy SPY puts or if you were just to go short SPY. I like these types of volatility like VIX or VXX because these plays can still go up, and I showed you guys how these can actually go up, which we even went over in a video from I think this morning. This went up. The market was actually, during this period where we had VXX going up, the market was still going up. That's just showing potential fear and uncertainty, and potentially was a precursor for what actually was to come for a sudden drawdown. So this doesn't have to mean this is generally, right, what you'll see with these volatility plays is that they will generally go up when the market goes down, but it doesn't always have to be the case. So that's why I like them, and I just, into the election, that's my thoughts. So my thoughts behind this is that I'm going to hold my position in VXX, and I even have some calls as well, or yeah, I have calls as well, but not much in terms. Calls are like a true lotto. If we do make some crazy move in terms of VXX going to the upside, then the calls would make me some decent money. But if not, I'm not too concerned with that. So my anticipation here is for VXX to make a decent move in the next week, and then I'll probably sell out a decent chunk of my position come Tuesday, because then we'll have the election. We're going to see what happens. Now, can we certainly see more volatility on Wednesday, the day after the election? Sure, on 100%. But if I'm up a decent amount, let's cover myself in case whatever happens, we see a market push to the upside. Like, who knows? What if Trump wins and says, hey, stimulus is going to be, we're going to get a deal done like next week? Or what if Biden wins and says, hey, don't worry, when I take office, we're going to have a massive stimulus done, and then the market responds. So I'm not going to kind of, mess with that. I want to make sure that I take a decent chunk of profit on the position before that happens. That's my thoughts. Is ADMP over? No. We have the, I think it's going to be getting started now, is that unfortunately we kind of, and I knew this is coming before I was making these positions, but we kind of had an unfortunate kind of this pop right here. I would have loved to be able to have sold some of my shares in there because I was back in here, but I didn't, because that was like a pre-market and someone tweeted it and it popped up on very low volume. So it popped up in pre-market and I didn't even get a chance to put my sells in place. So unfortunately that's the case, but I still have ADMP. It is a PDUFA run-up play. So that's one of the larger catalysts when it comes to small caps in the penny land. I believe the date is early to mid-November, so that's coming soon. So we should potentially see a run-up into that. Now, there's some speculation on if they're going to get approved with this, that, and the other thing. So there's some speculation there, but I would anticipate a little bit of a run-up. But at the same time, small caps have been kind of suppressed based off of the earnings, based off of the volatility in large caps, stuff like that. So that's kind of your downside there. It's just, and a lot of the stuff. The other thing too that I want to at least share is that when I talk about some of the small cap plays that I'm in, they are not traded, at least how I do it. They're traded differently from your large caps, and I'll even show you guys an example from NAKD. This is a one that popped today like 40-something% at one point, so it finished the day up 30%. But here's what happens, and it's manipulation. There's all sorts of things that can go on here when it comes to these things, but it held this 10-cent support, right? And the idea was a retail pop. It popped into Amazon Prime Day, right? And we got a little bit of a pop, but it didn't happen, right? It kind of just held up, and then it fell through. And then just for whatever reason, today it started running. And so today it got attention. Today it got volume. And so if the game's, this doesn't prove the game's not rigged, right? It just fell to new lows and then eventually ran 40%. So this is why with a lot of my plays, I'm not going to buy in once and ride my play up and scale out. Necessarily momentum swing. These swings, they're usually catalyst focused, and I add the dips. I don't go all in initially. I go in chunks. So I have a position, let's say, for this account, let's say the max position is 10% of my total account value is my max swing position, right? I'll go in like fourths, or I'll go in let's say like $300 chunks or $500 chunks at a time for this account, right? And so I'll just go boom, boom, and I'll build my position as we dip. So NAKD was one where I had an initial average like 11 cents, but what I should have done is I could have actually bought more, and then bought more like 3 more times, which would have got my average down to maybe around 8 cents, and it popped over 10 cents. So as crazy that is, that's still over a 20% gain if you are to scale out over 10 cents. That happened, and so that's kind of how that's how I play a lot of these small caps with a potential catalyst in place. And so with the PDUFA for ADMP, with TBLT, with a lot of stuff that they have going for them, they're dropping, but they're kind of falling with the overall small caps, with the overall market, and so you're going to see that drop. That's why you always have to have cash ready to add, and that's why people get screwed on a lot of these types of plays, and even on SPAQ and LCA and those types of SPAC plays when initially they look great, before, we had the whole Nikola thing, and before ever since we had the whole Nikola thing and Trevor Milton, the CEO of Nikola, kind of stepping down, whatever, it just like all the SPAC plays just like got ruined. It was like they stopped performing how we were expecting them to perform. They stopped doing the kind of run up into the vote date, run after the vote date thing like that. They stopped doing that. So strategy works until it doesn't. But that's ultimately kind of why full position. Here it is. Here's my chunk, and I'm all in. You want to at least always have something worst case scenario. That's why if I ever have a full position, most likely be if I need to get a mercy exit. If we see a massive drawdown, then I'll add my last chunk and I'll try to get my quick spike and I'll get out of my position if I need to do so. And I usually get a couple percent on that little rebound. I always want to keep something. I always want to have in the back of my pocket some type of cash to add to a position. That's just kind of my thoughts. Let's take a look. Let's see LCA. I think they're waiting on some more stuff going. I think LCA is going to keep coming down. I think they're waiting on more states for this stuff to get legalized. That's what I'm personally seeing based off of right now. So we'll see. LCA is coming down to these lows right here. So $11 would hopefully have to hold. That's what I want to see next. It's trying to keep coming down. So as of right now, we're in a downtrend yet again. So personally, I am not in LCA. Although I do like it, I'm not in it right now. So I want to see a couple things kind of go their way. And want to get the merger. Obviously, that's what I ultimately want to see, the merger, before I was to get back in for a long play. But this would be more of a long-term investment. This wouldn't be it wouldn't be like a short-term trade. It'd probably be more of a longer-term investment if I had to go with something for LCA. Similar to SPAQ, PIC I like longer term. I do like even Workhorse. We can talk about that one too. Let's talk about Workhorse. Workhorse, I believe there's another short report. There's more shorts attacking Workhorse. Workhorse was down like 7% today. So I have a bunch of lines in on my Workhorse chart because I've been talking this one for quite a while. But we fell out of this support. We fell out of this uptrend. And so for me, what I was saying before is that this is a decent buy range for Workhorse, at least for an attempt, right? So Workhorse is just getting close to this buy range. So it's just peaking down to that buy range for me. So I want to give it a couple more days, see what happens. And then if there's any news, really ultimately the election. Let's get the election out the way, and then I want to buy. That's what I'm waiting to do for a bunch of other plays, for a bunch of my plays in general. I want the election to kind of, let's get through the election, and then I'm going to look for potential more longs, especially if we get a bigger dip come the election. So if we get a bigger dip post-election or around the election, awesome time to add to my longs. That's my thoughts. So that's what I'm looking at for Workhorse. I'll look more into that one tomorrow and see what I can find, if I can find any more information on that. I know people have been, it's a very popular stock for whatever reason lately. Same as SPAQ and same as a bunch of these types of other types of SPACs outside of this EV space has just been hot too. So this is one of those, and the USPS contract, everyone's talking about that. It's been in the news a lot lately too, and so they haven't, if they ever get that contract, this is going to be big for Workhorse, so we'll see. EVs in general, I can go to my EV watch list really quick and just some of the ones I've been watching. So NIO, NIO is one I want to talk about. Look at this. So NIO, boom, we had this downtrend developing and we're breaking out. So now I want to see NIO push that $30. That could be the next breakout for NIO. So it's cracking, it's kind of reversing out of this trend. That's a good sign for NIO. We'll see. Tesla today was up. Let's see. H1LN was up today as well. The sector did decent. SPAQ was up, and then it kind of fell back like it always does. Workhorse was down, short attack, I believe, and then Ride was down pretty big post-merger, seeming like it's falling through support. So it was trying to hold up around this 18 area, and it fell through that. So that's ultimately not great. Hyliion. So Hyliion has. So we had. I'll pull that one up really quick. So we had the merger, right? So we had these crazy dips. This dip, I believe, was when there was like a scare that the merger didn't actually go through. But what actually happened was one of the votes, there's like 8 different votes, 8 different kind of like proxy votes that you had to have in addition to like the actual merger / business combination vote. So this dipped. I think I grabbed some of that dip, and then I wish I sold all of it up here, but I didn't. Then I ended up selling some back here. But it popped back up to the 50s, and ever since then, the entire space, the sector has kind of pulled back, and SPACs in general pulled back. So once the ticker changed to HYLM, this thing has been pulling back significantly ever since. And also the thing about the CEO too, Thomas Healy, is that he's been pretty quiet in general, and so people want him to drop, a piece of news like, hey, this is what's happening, like, boom, like, we got this coming down the pipe, and so people wanted that, and we just never got it, and so people were seeing and looking for price targets of 70 plus, $100. I saw tons of people who were saying that stuff, and when it was becoming, apparent that we were not going to get that, we just saw a further sell-off. Potentially some more manipulation here as well too, but we saw a drop down through this support, and so now we're coming back down, like we kind of said, to around that $20 we were looking at. Jim Cramer too, whatever you want to say about the guy, he was like, yeah, buy this stock at $20 or less. Now, is there manipulation going on? People will say yes. I would argue that there probably is as well. But at the end of the day, right, when you're looking at larger kind of firms that have the ability, and they have the ability to kind of move share, like SPAQ or other even lower float stocks in general. And when I say float, that's like the amount of shares the public's able to trade, right? So that's what you always should look at float on like FinViz, or look up what the float is. See if you can get a float from like Yahoo or FinViz.com. When you have a lower float stock, it is going to be more kind of susceptible to manipulation. Like it's certainly, it's a thing. It's a legitimate thing. It's one of those like dirty things, dirty secrets that, people know about, but like it's not as talked about, or it's not as widely kind of known by most retail traders until you kind of get a little bit more experience. So I like it. I'm buying HYLN. I'm waiting, of course, till post-election to do so to buy more, but I'm going to buy more. That's my thought. I like to play long term. I like how it's more in that commercial sector, so that you don't have a bunch of these competitors, right? HYLN is not necessarily competing with, let's say, like a Tesla, or let's say, SPAQ, or let's say, they're not necessarily competing with those types of, companies. So like, that's why I like that. When you're playing the EV space, you can also diversify yourself in the EV space, so that you're not just kind of playing on just one consumer type of vehicle, right? I like that too. So if you guys don't know, like they have look at the Hypertruck and stuff like that. Like they have some pretty cool stuff they're trying to do in the EV sector, and everyone's like, oh, I don't like that. Don't invest in Hyliion, all that stuff. But do your own due diligence, and there's tons of stuff out there already to kind of make a decision. But personally, for me, I'm going to be buying it on these dips. What happens if Biden wins and Trump doesn't want to step back? Let me tell you, that's going to be, we'll cross that bridge if and when we get there. But people have been concerned about that too. Is it going to be? I do not think that we're going to have a peaceful exit or peaceful way. There's no peaceful way around this election. Let's be honest. I mean, you can have Trump win, right? And what do you think the other side's going to say if he wins? Well, if it was close, right? If it was close, oh, well, ballots and then the mail-in voting, was a fraud and all that stuff, right? But if Trump loses, you can bet he's probably going to make the same exact argument his way. So I don't know how we're going to make it through this without some type of controversy or without something. Either we need a massively clear decision, or something like that has to happen. So that's what I think. That's the only way we kind of maybe can snake by without too much issue. But I don't know. That's a good question. Seriously. So LCA, I like LCA. Honestly, personally, for me, I'm going to wait, but I think $11 is like the next support. But I think we can based on what we're seeing with SPAQ, and these two perform very, very similarly. Let's be honest. If we look at the charts, I'll pull it up in a second. So $11 is kind of our low from here, and then it can go down to 10. But I think we might get a dip further than 11. So look at how it's been playing lately. It kind of had this consolidation, fallback, right? And look at SPAQ, slightly different time scales, but consolidation, drop off. So let's see maybe you want to look to the other one, look to the sector, look to SPACs in general. But I think it can come down further. So I would wait to look to add on that one, because it can come down further. But it looks like $11 is like the next key support. But like we've been seeing, a lot of these stocks have been dropping through support. So it doesn't necessarily matter. It sounds cool, but it ultimately doesn't matter, especially if there's manipulation going on, which I would not be surprised if there is. Then it definitely doesn't matter. That thing's going to get manipulated. Workhorse or honestly NIO. Personally, if I had to pick between Workhorse or NIO, I like NIO. I really do. It's a very strong chart. It's been performing very, very well. And there's been honestly like nothing but great, good news coming out of. And of course, there's you're going to have your negative stuff, but there's been a lot of good news, and we're really waiting on that USPS contract for Workhorse. So NIO, in the meantime, I think that's a price target of like 40 from JP Morgan. I mean, it's going to start pushing up towards that level, I think. We break over 30, then 40 is probably your next stop, especially, depends on how the election goes, depends on the overall market. If you get a pullback, that's a great thing. But I'm waiting for, of course, I said I was waiting, right? I've been talking about how I've been waiting for NIO to add. If we look at this, I go to the trend line here. I can just draw this little trend line. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting a little too greedy because I want NIO to come back towards this trend line, but I don't think we're going to get it because I was like, okay, we had this high. We're pulling back. Let's pull back here. Maybe I can get some under 25, and then we just ripped. So I may never actually get that dip add. So we'll see. I do like it. I'm looking to go long NIO for the long haul post-election. I'm hoping to get a better dip, but that's what I want to do for NIO. And you can play this one as a beautiful type of breakout trade. This may have a couple more days of continuation as long as the market doesn't pull it down. The market may pull it down. If the market pops up tomorrow and the rest of the week, this thing could certainly really blow off the top, especially if they even have more news coming out. But as of right now, it looks like it's starting to make a breakout. So there's that. SPI long hold. I don't think so. I don't know. This space on these types of charts, it doesn't look like a terrible chart. But based off the run that it had, it has had some time to settle down. I understand, but I still want to see a little more time, maybe a little more settling down, for at least for my taste before I'd be looking to get into something like this, because it was down at $1 before it made that massive run. So let's see, we're kind of holding up something like that. It's a little bit tough to see because we had that massive run, but here's your general trend. So we can bring this guy up a little bit. 535, higher lows developing, which is a good sign. So we're making higher lows. So until that trend breaks, it looks decent. I don't know, to be honest, if I would be playing this one long term as of right now. If I was bag holding, that's one thing, but I don't know. Long term, I don't know. We had a news pop today, and then it came back down. It was up on the day, but personally, it's not one of my top. I wouldn't say it's one of my top picks by any means. NTN been a good swing. Let's take a look at NTN. This one, let's see. Yes, this one actually made also a decent reversal. So it popped. We had this kind of bottom at 150, and then we made this pop to like 2, almost 3, and we came right back down to that 150-ish area, and it's making some pushes up since. So that's a solid play. Higher lows developing on the chart still. So we have higher lows being put in, which is a good sign. So we'll see. People are saying the Very Good Food Co. I don't know, maybe. I haven't looked enough into the Very Good Food Co. I will be watching that one. It's on my radar, at least as of right now. But I have enough on my plate, so I don't necessarily need to be looking at it right now too much or looking for an entry right now. But that's just me, right? Yeah, that's the thing that NNDM with these offerings, I will say. Yeah, so look at these. Look at like this is what you kind of see. It kind of ruins a chart, or these drops. And I don't know exactly what's happening with NNDM. I haven't been watching it. I know that ARK Invest, ARK Invest is in NNDM, I believe. So we can take this trend line actually now, and move it a little bit. We can move this bottom to here. So that's currently our trend. So we want to see it kind of pushing up from here. I know people are in it. I don't really know as much as I want to about the company, so I'm not going to play it. And I like to play it off the chart. So for me, it's a little too overextended based off where it just was. So does that mean it's going to come down? Does that mean that no? It could keep running for sure. But personally, I'm just not a huge fan of the chart. It's just not ideally kind of my type of perfect not that I need a perfect chart, but it's not my type of chart play. Just from my liking. Although this is a decent area of support right here. This $3 seems to be like it held up pretty well. So $3 seems to be a pretty strong support. And then we have the uptrending higher lows being put in. So that's a good sign. So we will see. FUV broke below 6 today. FUV, I believe, is that smaller kind of like 3-wheel, I believe, or 3 or 4-wheel. Very small, more type of like small electric vehicle. So this is not a terrible looking chart, but we are in just a period of consolidation. We have to get more of a direction. I'm looking at the daily chart to kind of see this a little better. But we honestly have a decent bull flag kind of developing on a broader scale. If we take a look at what we really are seeing, we have this top line resistance right here. It's not perfect, but we can try to draw some type of trend. So something along like that, we have that area of resistance along the top line, and then we kind of have this support. Now we have this little pullback here. We kind of have just generally, somewhat of an uptrending support right there. So we kind of have, this is your pull, and then your flag. I believe I'm going to have a video going over how to over bull flags and stuff. For those who are interested, I'm going to have a video coming out soon on stuff just like this. But that's not a terrible play, like not a terrible looking chart based on this consolidation. Now it seems like it's taking longer for any sustained move up or down, so it's not as high, I guess, of a risk type of play. But it still has a pretty significant percentage, change from the top of here to down here. But it's at the bottom, so if you were looking for an entry and you wanted to grab something, it's not a terrible spot. But I just wouldn't be looking to hold too much below 5 if you were to be entering here. If you were to average down, I wouldn't be looking to hold too much below 5 personally. We'll see. I know people who like this a lot, so I don't know. Personally, I haven't done enough due diligence myself to get myself to invest in it long term. But if I was to trade it, that's a different story. And based off this, it's not a terrible idea, technically, right? Technically speaking. NNDM offering set to close tomorrow, hopefully. Now it's funny because I used to play a bunch of those types of stuff over months ago, offering closing. So generally, when you get an offering to close, you get a little bit of a pop, so you can get a couple percent move up. So maybe that's the case with NNDM. It pops on up, so that's one thing. Okay, options. I don't traditionally do that a lot, but that said, I am in an option trade right now. So I'll talk about that really quick, of what I'm actually in. So like I was mentioning at the beginning, VXX is my short-term volatility play. So here it is. Here's my play. Here's my VXX that I'm in. I like it. It's up today. It was up yesterday, so I'm up on my position right now. But what I want to see is I'm ultimately looking for VXX to make something like this. So we actually saw when SPY, if I go back to SPY, so the S&P 500, when it made this dip from all-time highs right here, when it made that dip, we saw VXX spike up. And so why do we see VXX spike up? Because there's fear, there's uncertainty, and it was this right here. That's what I'm looking at for VXX. So if it can make a move from where it was at 22-ish area, if it makes a move towards 30, that's going to pay me pretty nicely off, and it's also going to cover my downside. It's going to hedge myself to the downside because I'm in a couple longs. I'm like 50-50 cash long, but a decent amount of my cash is also in VXX. So I'm looking for this to make a move up. So I'm actually playing the $25 call option. So for November 20th, so look at this. I'm in here, and on Webull, I look at the November 20th because this gives me a little bit of time post-election. So it gives me some time. So I have time. We're not looking at something that's expiring like in 2 weeks. I'm not super concerned about the expiration of this. So I'm looking at these contracts. So here are the 25s. If it's a little small, I'm sorry. I know, I understand. But this is the contract I'm looking at, the 25. So currently last price we saw was 291. I think I have a 290 average on these contracts in this account, and then in a different account that I have a 250 average or something like that from yesterday. So I bought some here just in case we get a lottery play. Good open interest based off other contracts. So we look at the 2450s. We have a less open interest. So more of the whole numbers are seeing a higher open interest makes some sense, right? So it's just easier to play a whole number. What's it called? Strike price, right? That's our strike price. So I want this, and it doesn't. Now, when you talk about options trading, you'll look at break evens and you'll see, oh, this, that, and the other thing. For me to make money on this play, we either are going to get a short-term spike in VXX, and I'm going to sell out of this contract either at the end of this week or next week, or maybe even the week after that, maybe, if it really goes. Or this is going to have to be, VXX is going to have to be, since I have an average at 290, it's going to have an intrinsic value of 290 or more, so it's going to have to be $28 or so, $3 above the strike price come the expiration date. So come on November 20th. So that's what I'm playing. I don't like to do a lot of these option trades, to be honest, too much. If I'm going to trade options, it would be off of a scalp, off of an intraday type of trade. That's how I like to do it, especially in volatile times like this. Holding options overnight is very risky because what if you're looking to short the market, or if you're playing a put, right, for Apple, or let's say you're playing puts on like Peloton, or who knows, right? But all of a sudden, we come out with tomorrow morning and Trump tweets or something happens and he says something along the lines of, I'm putting a stimulus through, executive order, whatever. And the market loves it and it rips. Now, maybe whatever contracts or option that you had, maybe it comes down in a couple of weeks, right? Maybe it comes down to your target price that you thought it was going to get to, right? Based on your charts, based off of your fundamentals, whatever, right? There's some catalyst driving it down or up. And then maybe it happens, but you're fighting the time. So that's where you can get screwed on options. And that's why I don't like holding them overnight, especially in volatile news times when something can happen at any point that could really drastically change the market. So that's personally my thought. If you're going to trade them in the time like this, intraday, day trade, try to be in and out in a day. If you're going to hold overnight, understand the risks and generally give yourself some time. So for me, November 20th is like just a little bit less than a month out. So I'm anticipating a move relatively soon in the next week or two. But if I don't get it, at least some time on my side, so I'll have a value. These options will at least have some value by the end, even if we never actually hit that $25 or whatever, okay, on VXX. So that's how I'm playing it. So other than that, though, I'll very kind of rarely trade buy options, buy calls and puts. But what I'll love to do in a longer term portfolio is, for example, for like a stock like SPAQ or for a stock I'm holding long term, I'll sell options. So I will sell you have to have 100 shares, but I'll sell covered calls. And I have a video on the channel if you know what covered calls are and how that works. But let's say SPAQ, I go to the option chain right here, and I'm looking at the $20 options. If I were to sell the November 20th $20 options right now, I have to have 100 shares, right, for a covered call. I can sell this and make, let's say, $20, because it's 20 cents times 100, so I make $20. They will pay me $20. I'll get credited $20 to sell that contract to somebody. Now, what happens is if SPAQ never gets above $20, nothing happens. I made $20, I still kept that $20, and I keep my 100 shares. But if SPAQ goes over $20, I can get taken out, right? That contract is now in the money, can get executed. If that gets executed, I still capitalize on the gain. So like, let's say I had an average of like $11 for SPAQ. I will still capitalize on nearly 100% gain. And I also keep that $20 I got paid to sell the initial contract. But now come November 20th, I just have no shares, or I lose 100 shares of SPAQ. That's how that works. So I will do that, and I'll sell out of the money contracts or out of the money calls for the stocks that I'm holding longer term. And I'll kind of try to find the sweet spot of like, okay, this probably won't actually get executed. I don't think it will, at least, but if it does, I would make such a significant percentage gain on this stock in this short period of time that I'm fine with taking that profit and kind of moving on or reassessing when the stock comes back on down. That's how I like to play options generally right now. It's more of a lower risk type of strategy for longer term holdings, and just give yourself pay yourself a dividend, give yourself a credit every couple of weeks, every month, or even if you have weeklies. If you're in something like Apple or something like that, you can literally pay yourself every single week. Sell covered calls every single week, even if it's just $5-10. You know what? It's $5 or $10 that you wouldn't have had if you didn't sell the covered call, right? That's how why not? If the money is, if it's there, take it, right? That's how I see it. Now, it can get a little more advanced, especially for someone who's just new to kind of how that stuff works. You kind of have to have, you're walking a fine line because you don't ultimately want to lose your shares. So you got to kind of have, find a fine line of like, okay, how far out of the money do I want to sell these and stuff like that. Hey, appreciate the donation. Top picks for next week. Well, my top pick is going to be VXX. That's next week. I think no matter what, I think honestly, we're going to see volatility at least spike Tuesday. I mean, I just don't see how we're not going to see that. With votes starting to come in, I think we're going to see a spike on Tuesday at a minimum. So that's why I like VXX. Other than VXX, there are some other, what I would be looking for is some other green energy plays. So if Biden wins, right? Because we know those plays have kind of popped up. He won. And also some weed plays. So we want to look at some weed plays. I have a video going over some weed stocks. Those are some weed stocks that I have played in the past. There are certainly many more. And so as we get closer, as that happens, I will make videos on those specific things when they come. But VXX, my volatility play is probably my top play into next week. I'm still in TBLT. I understand people are like, I'm still in TBLT. That's just my current, pick. based on a lot of stuff. They've had a decent drawdown ever since, so we're in a downtrend right now. I want to see it. It's coming down to these lows. I think this is an absolute no-brainer down here based on everything that they have going on for them. So that's my anticipation with TBLT. For tomorrow specifically, if you're looking for a very shorter term trade, it would be DGLY. That's one that I like for tomorrow. It pushed up today. It broke over the 50 SMA. It's pushing up. It's got to break over that 250 next, and it makes it run at $3. So I actually have an order set. I have some shares I grabbed here after hours. So I have a quick order set for tomorrow for I think 273 if it hits at the pre-market. I may wake up to a sell. I may not, but that's just kind of my thoughts based on we're seeing more riots. We're seeing stuff like that. So this is a police body camera play. That's why I like DGLY right now. And I think that's going to be a pretty decent stock for months to come. But at least that's my thoughts on that. So when it comes to options, about the break-even price. Yeah, so what happens with the break-even price is they'll give you, let me see if I can pull one up for like SPAQ. Or even let's see if I can pull one for DGLY. So let's say we have a $5, right? I can go to the graph. So they're going to tell me, right, this break-even price is like right here at like $5, right? About, let's see. Yeah. So this is telling me, right, that this is like in the red. If I were to zoom in, right, we're in the red here. We're in the, this is selling a call. Let me go to buy. If I was just to buy this call, right? If I was to buy the call, let me click it once, buy. I don't want to sell. I want to buy. Let's see. Where are we at? Come on. Give me a buy. There it is. So it's worst case scenario, right? I lose the max value of this. So worst case scenario, right? I can lose if I was to buy 10. Let's say one contract here. So one contract, right? My worst case is 15 because let's say I pay 15 cents, which is $15 of money out of my account. That's my worst case scenario. So that's my worst case. But it's going to put me at a break-even price, right? It's going to have a break-even here at like $5.50. Now, DGLY probably, if we zoom in better here, right? DGLY, we can probably zoom in to see this a little bit clearer. DGLY is probably, right, you're going to actually be able to make money on this contract, even if DGLY doesn't hit $5.50. Now, why is that? Well, because this is for November 20th. So if DGLY makes a move, and it's at like 250 right now, if it makes a move in the next couple of days, like for tomorrow, this contract may actually go from 15 cents to 25 cents. So you'll actually make money sooner because there's other stuff at play. When you see that break even, it's really calculating the intrinsic value. So if your contract, right, is a $5.50 contract, technically to break even, right, DGLY will have to be a little bit over, if you pay 15 cents, it'll have to be a little bit over, it'll have to be 15 cents over $5.50, technically come the expiration date for you to break even. But if DGLY went to $5 tomorrow, since you still have all that time and there's still a lot of time on that contract, it's going to be worth more and you'll be more than breaking even tomorrow, if that makes sense. Hopefully that does. That's kind of how it works. It's kind of complicated. That's why I say don't really worry about that stuff too much, to be honest, because it really just confuses people more when you see the break-even price. Just understand what you're in the trade for, why, get the move, and get out. That's just how I see it, especially as a beginner, right? Or someone who's just starting out. So that's my thoughts. IPOB, I know a lot of people who like that. It does look interesting. Let me take a look at the chart. I haven't looked at it in a while, actually. IPOB. Let's see what we got. So we're looking at $18 or so. It's pulled back significantly, but I think this is actually a decent time. So it's come back down in here, and it's trying to find some support. So I like it. I do. I want to, again, this is one of those stocks I like, but waiting post-election. If we see a further drawdown, well, I'll scoop some dips there. That's just my thoughts on this one. Personally, shortest time you've ever held a stock in your tax-free account. So you mean like an IRA? IRA, what I do for my IRA, right, is I just buy and mostly it's buy and hold. It's like I will mostly buy and hold or longer term swings. Generally, how I will do it. I don't want to have to worry too much about it. So if I put money in my IRA, I like to get into dividend stocks. I like to get into growth stocks, and I like to just set it and not have to worry about it or kind of forget about it in a sense. But I'm not going to forget. I'll check in once in a while, but I don't want to buy something and have to manage that trade or be in and out. That's kind of how I see it when it comes to that stuff. Make sure, guys, hit the like button. Let's run these likes up because we had over 100 likes last stream. We gotta get close. I know it's not Sunday night. I know it's not a popular time, but we gotta at least make a push towards get closer to 100 likes. So I appreciate every single one of you who already has liked, but let's run those likes up a little bit more. Let's take a look. Palantir. Let's take a look. Boom. Palantir, PLTR, that's what it is. Oh, this is actually a solid. Looks pretty good. I remember I was talking about it on Sunday, I believe, and it was like, okay, it was making these moves, whatever, right? Oh, it had this kind of this downtrend. I liked it. Now we want to see it clear out of this 1142. We clear out 1142. Today we got up to 11 or so. We want to clear out 1142, and that's the next push to the upside, 1150 really. I do like it. I don't know as much as probably some of you guys do know about it, but from all I have seen, I liked it. I didn't take a trade. I was thinking about taking a trade, I believe, on the day that it became public, but I didn't personally. So that's what it is. Yeah, I would say it's probably one of those longer term holds for sure. Yes. So the Storm. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at PPSI. This is the one that I'm looking at, PPSI, and then I'll talk about NIO quick as well. So PPSI, I know it's not ideal, but it's coming down. It's coming down like right to this 250, 260 area was a solid area of support based on these kind of candles up here, this wick up, and from what we've been following through. So what we have, if I was to pull up, let's see, this is what I know I'm kind of a nerd going into this stuff, but it's forecast models for kind of the storm. So it's tough to see, but it's going to be strengthening tomorrow on Wednesday, and then looking to hit land in Louisiana. Close, it just looks just west of New Orleans. So the last ditch effort for my PPSI play, this is a generator company that ran from $8 to $9.30, literally in a day. Last major hurricane we had in the Gulf. I want it to pop, but at the same time, it's tomorrow or nothing. So I'm going to be getting out tomorrow, and it may, of course, it'll go Thursday for whatever reason. But either it's going to catch tomorrow, or it's not going to catch because the storm isn't as strong. It's not as widely talked about. Whether that's fortunate, unfortunate, I know those who have to go through it. It's terrible. I feel bad again. They have to go through another hurricane in Louisiana, but it is what it is. And so it closed up. It's in this 260, this low 260 range. We'll see what happens. I'm anticipating this is probably going to just pretty much just either sit here, maybe it either goes tomorrow or it doesn't go. And then I'm going to be getting out because it may be falling back a little bit further if it doesn't go tomorrow. So that's my thoughts. Let's see. Yeah, Palantir, another ARK Invest. Yep, ARK is very popular lately. I know people love to make those ARK Invest videos on what they're in and stuff. I know and I am in some. I do have some of their ETFs in a longer term portfolio too. Favorite 3 long-term stocks. Kind of biased because I don't want to say it's SPAC, but I love SPAC. So Fisker, I love it. I think this is you're looking at a stock with a massive potential, and of course there's risk to the downside if they have halts in production, if they have issues along the lines, but I think this is certainly a stock that can double, triple, potentially more in the coming years. It's again, like I said, years, longer term play. So I'm not anticipating this stock to go from $10 to $20 next week. The times have changed from those types of runs, post-merger, pre-merger, stuff like that. But it certainly has that hype potential. It's in that EV sector, which has been hot, and I like it. That's one of those stocks I like a lot in that sector. Other than that, let's take a look. Let's see. I've loved Realty Income, ticker symbol O. The only issue with O lately, the reason why I like this one so much is because they pay a monthly dividend, is that it's commercial real estate. So I don't know about commercial real estate right now. That's one of those things. Yeah, they do have, I believe they have an S3. PPSI has an S3 in their back pocket. So I'm looking to get out of PPSI tomorrow at a minimum if it doesn't move. That's my thoughts on PPSI. At least we'll see. I've had it in a longer term portfolio for a while. I did buy some of these dips down here, but the only problem with commercial real estate right now is that, of course, We're seeing more people go from, office jobs to working at home. We have the pandemic, so we have that. So that cautions me to add or to buy more. Although the monthly dividend's been nice. I've loved the monthly dividend, which has been great just to reinvest right back into your account. Boom, 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 which has been awesome. I love NIO. I love NIO as that Chinese kind of EV play. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think this was an absolute gift to those who did buy in this $2 range and who saw ahead of time this as a longer term investment, because I still think, personally, in the 20s, I still think we're going to look back on NIO in a couple of years and say 20s and laugh. I think this is going to be potentially a triple-digit stock at some point in the future, years potentially down the road, I think. So I like that. I'm very bullish on the EV sector. That's just I'm going to be situated myself now. I'm not going to just overly just load up. I'm going to diversify myself, but I'm very bullish on the EV sector. So picking out your favorite EV plays. So for me, it's NIO is more proven. They have cars on the road. SPAQ, kind of more your speculative, but also they get cars on the road, they come out with some more vehicles, and this play, this won't be at $10 for long. Will not be under $10 for very, very long. Once we get cars on the road to spec. Now, it takes time, but it depends on how, looking at your longer term, kind of what your thoughts on the longer term play on that. Other than that, let me take a look what I have in my other portfolio just to spark my ideas, because I have it on my phone. It's better to see, because I do have a bunch of things. And there's some other stocks in there that I do want to grab. Oh, I like Rocket Mortgage, RKT. Let's see. It's not your explosive, fast-moving monster, but this could be a stock that does make some significant recoveries. We kind of have this. We're starting to make potentially a reversal to the upside. So I like Rocket Mortgage, especially down under $20. If you could have grabbed these dips under 20, that was awesome. Let's see, what else do I have here in this account? Like, I have some of those ARK Invest ETFs, like we kind of mentioned before. And I have a little bit of Tesla. I have some PIC, also EV, Hyliion, Rocket, ARK ETFs. Other than that, I want to buy into some Apple. I know I missed out on Snap. I like Spotify. I missed out on getting into Snap. Honestly, I should have been in Snap from years ago, but I never actually bought it because I was skeptical. I looked at so many different things. People like, hey, this is Snapchat, long-term growth potential. And I was like, I don't see it. And of course, Snapchat just crushed earnings the other day, and and they've been running up massively. Let's take a look at Snap. So I'm not in Snap right now, but look at this massive move. I mean, Snap's been a beauty in terms of a growth stock. But I mean, other than the ones I mentioned, I really would want to just kind of situate myself into some solid plays. Like, I would like to have more Apple. I'd like to have more Amazon. Those are just some massive giants that I like. And other than that, ETFs is the other way to go. Index funds, ETFs. So I'll look to things like the ARK Invest ETFs. Even just literally investing into something like SPY, or looking into something like a Vanguard S&P based ETF, just so that you have yourself kind of covered. At worst case scenario, what do you know that's going to do? That's going to give you a solid 7 to 10% per year. Solid. 5 to 10% per year at a minimum, right? Every single year. Just put your money there. It's going to grow long term. So there's that. And then of course, I sprinkle in your more speculative trades. So your more speculative investments, like your SPQs. If you like Hyliion, go Hyliion. If you like NIO, go NIO. Whatever you like. I'm bullish on the EV sector, so that's kind of where I like to kind of put some stuff for right now as well. So that's my thoughts. Let's take a look. TTCF. Yeah, OAS are nice dividends. TTCF. Let's see how our tattooed chef has been performing. So interesting. It bounced off of this area. So it wicked down to here, this 16-ish. It did it now twice, and it bounced pretty big. It's up 11% today. If there's news on TTCF, let me know. There may be, because it made a pretty big move. But again, we've been seeing, like I was saying on Sunday, on the Sunday Live, we've been seeing lots of these ups and downs and these massive candle moves. Like 10% in a day is common. It's literally common with Tattooed Chef. So personally, I want to see it settle down. I want to see it kind of make a 5% or less move for a couple days in a row, and then that's where I'll be looking for potentially for an entry. I do like it, but That's my thoughts. SNMP continuation tomorrow. It has got some momentum, so it pushed up. Let's take a look at the 4 hour to get a better sense. Yeah, if it clears this 160, then yes, that would be a beast tomorrow potentially. But we also, I would be skeptical though at the same time, because we have just been seeing like small caps just have been, it's been very quiet. But that could be a good thing, because if we do have a couple plays, 1 or 2 plays that everyone focuses and a lot of traders focus in on, that's all you need for an explosive run up. So that's what I do. I do see potential there for sure. But it's got to pop above this 150, 160 area, and then it starts getting into some, some free territory that we might be able to have some fun with a bigger run tomorrow. So we'll see. The chart looks pretty decent over those levels, to be honest. And, it's funny how it filled the gap. It filled this gap pretty well, perfectly. So it's got to get over that level now. Next, let's see. RMG battery play. Let's see RMG. They're SPAC, right? So this is sitting at pretty low levels. This is not a terrible entry spot at this 200 SMA. Not a bad spot for an entry, to be honest, at all. So I do like that. I haven't looked too much into RMG, but battery plays, right? That's a hot sector these days, right? So you're in the right sector. Let's see. How do you see WEI tomorrow? Let's take a look at WEI. I think I was looking at that one. I was looking at shorting that one, to be honest. I was like, if I was going to short something, maybe this. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with this guy. But let's see. Let's zoom her out, and let's get a better sense to what we got going on. So we came up. When you see a stock like this that's kind of bottoming out after a big run, and it bottoms out, went from 73 cents to $10. Insane run. Then it settles down here at this like 160-ish area, 150 support, 175 area. Pops up today to $3. Comes back down. So I'm thinking it's going to come back down. Personally, my thoughts, again, if there's nothing running, this could get some attention to China stock. They got some attention today, so we'll see what happens tomorrow. I don't like it. I would like to see it come back down, personally. Not a fan. That's just me. Gorilla was a nice one for the beginning of the week, at least, right? Let's see. It's come right back down. So Grill opened up, I believe, on Monday, popped. So we had Friday, we had news. Monday morning, right? This is the 23rd. We had this pop the 23rd. It popped up quickly Monday morning, and then it kind of sold off. So I think it's going to probably sell off, and I want to see an entry. I'd be looking for an entry if we can get back down under like under 175 would be better. So it's getting close. I don't think it's a terrible play. But I want to see it come back down, consolidate for a little more before another spike or move up like that. That's my thoughts. So Fastly, FSLY. Let's check in. So it's sitting right here at that support, right around that 75. So it's definitely showing good signs of consolidation. So instead of just piercing through or bouncing, it's consolidating. So that's good. The only concern here would be the overall market. So what may drop it through 75 support would be the overall market. So if I go to the futures, they're currently down, 0.5%. So if we have a pretty big down day of down 1%, 2% plus tomorrow or the rest of the week, that may drop Fastly through support. That's my only concern. So I'd be looking at this one. I like the support bounce. I do. It looks like a beautiful support, but it may have some weakness below that level if we have an overall weak market, which is unfortunate, but that's kind of how it works sometimes. I know it stinks, but that's why NIO, if we look at NIO again, this stock is breaking out, and I think sorry, I didn't mean to click on Netflix, or NIO, boom, NIO. It's breaking out of this downtrend, but the unfortunate thing is that the market's down tomorrow, that could prohibit it from making a massive pop. So what we will see with a stock like this is it may pop early in the day, and then it may sell off the rest of the day. So if you're looking for something tomorrow for like an option trade or something like that, you can look to even probably if the market is red and the market looks very ugly, if there's some more bad news, who knows? If NIO pops up quick in the morning, it may be a decent idea for puts in the afternoon based on how it's kind of done off of that. Now, it would be in very short term, but again, long term I'm bullish. But if the overall market is pulling back, it might kind of suffocate this breakout to a degree, right? So That's my thoughts. So SPAC, LCA, HYLN, DKNG, I like them long. So I'm buying. You can even look into the SPAC ETF, which I think has been getting crushed. Let me look at SPAK. Here's the ETF that has a bunch of SPAC plays in it. Yeah, it's been going down because we've been seeing, I think the largest holdings in SPAC, SPAK, is DKNG, which has been down lately, or it made a decent move down, then everything else has been pretty much down. So you can grab this as an ETF that's more diversified. That's my thoughts. Let's see. You think I should sell? It depends. It depends on your time frame. So for me, right, and it stunk. As much as I hated to sell SPAQ in this account, I have it long term. But in this is my shorter term trading account, it was a bounce off this support. If it bounced off the support, then great. It fell through, so I cut it. I cut it here. Because it fell through, it no longer held my support level. That trade is over to me. I move on. So it depends on your time frame, depends on a lot of things. So I figured the trade was no longer working the way I want it to work in this account. And it was more of a technical, in a sense, trade based on some other things like hype and how other stocks perform too. So that was the idea, but it didn't respect it, so I move on. So you have to kind of, if you like those stocks long term, which I do, put them in a longer term portfolio. Don't look at them every single day. Buy them, dollar cost average, continue to buy over time, and let them go. And and of course, keep up to date on the news if there's any negative news across them, whatever. But those are some types of plays that you buy and hold. That's how I see those types of plays. Let's see. Favorite movie? Honestly, I don't know. Put me on the spot on that one. I don't know. I have to get back to you on that. I am generally a horror and comedy guy. So I'm not a big action movie guy. Never really have been. I either like being scared out of my pants or I like to laugh my pants off. That's the two kind of ways I see it. If you can combine horror and comedy in some way, and it's not easy to do, I love that stuff. Those are my types of movies. I honestly, if you were to go through like some of the weird stuff on Netflix and like the weird movies, like something like my brothers and my cousins and I, we just love to watch like those weird movies that have like terrible ratings. But it's sometimes, honestly, it's the movies that have the terrible ratings that are honestly so messed up that like they really mess with you. Like as stupid as it is, like some screwed up movies, some screwed up horror movies. I love that stuff. It's honestly comical in a sense. It's so messed up that you laugh. That's as weird as it is. That's me. I am not. Let's take a look at how risky is VXX. So I'll show you guys quickly what my risk is on VXX. So we bounce off this 2158. So we're sitting right here around that area. It's pushing up. This is modeling volatility. So if the stock market goes down, this goes up most of the time. And also, if the stock market goes up, but there's starting to be more fear. This is a fear kind of index too. Volatility index, fear index, right? This goes up. So with the election coming up, I don't see this going down very much. I don't see it going down. Now, if the market's really starting to come on strong, it holds up very, very, very well over the next couple of days, which I don't know if it will, but I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. If I was to put all my eggs in one basket, I would just go all in on VXX calls. I'm not going to do that because it's dumb. Because when the second you feel so, the market humbles you, right? So I have a sizable position, but nothing, it's all in line with my risk management. So I want to see VXX either hold up around this level. So I'm already up on the trade because I have an average down around 23. I want to see it hold up around this level or make a further move up. And it potentially, if we look back to what happened last time the market crashed in March, VXX flew. It went flying from 13 to 78. So are we going to see that type of fear? Probably not. But can we get a quick spike from we saw back here 24 to 30 plus? Can we get that? Yes. And that's why I want that. And that's why I have it to hedge my downside. If the market sells off, I'm in a couple longs that I still like. If those don't do well, this is going to hedge my downside and potentially make me some money. If the stock market does completely implode, now, do I think it's going to do so? Probably not. But if it does, at least I'm prepared for it. So I'm going to hold it for like 2 weeks max, and then that's it. So I'm not going to be holding this one that long. If we look at the overall trend as of late, as the markets have moved up, this has generally moved down. So you have to understand like that's kind of what you're looking at in a volatility kind of index, right? It's usually just a short-term play. You can even look to UVXY or VIX for like intraday type of plays. If you look for like intraday moves, those are some good ones as well. SPAC meeting 3:40 a.m. Pacific time. That's funny. Henrik, it's funny. They've always liked to do later. It seems like they've done, when they release news, it's generally been, well, I think today was 8 a.m., 8:40 a.m., something like that. They'd like to do like Friday drops. At least they have in the past, but it is what it is. Fisker tweet 30 minutes ago. So, yeah. That's going to be fun to see tomorrow. That's the one I'll be watching for sure. I'll probably, we'll see what happens. If we get any crazy news, I'll probably make a video on it tomorrow as well. We'll see. Workhorse, I think there's potentially some more shorts attacking Workhorse. I may look into that as well for tomorrow. That's one that I want to be watching for sure. Let's take a look at Workhorse. It's coming down to my buy range, so I want to see it come down into this range, and that's a pretty good buy range for me. If it can't hold that, we may see some further downside. So we're just watching Workhorse. I'm going to be watching if it drops through here, then be careful. Will be a little bit speculative. So we'll see. I am currently in Austin, Texas. Yes. I appreciate that. So for those of you who appreciate the lives and stuff, what you can do for me is you can leave a thumbs up on live, which also helps me out. We're only at 24, so we could get that higher. We can run that up. I know we can do better, but Sundays is where it's at. Sunday nights, that's where it's at. We had over 100 likes. It's like the third live stream or whatever, the second or third live stream for Sundays. That was fun. I am not. I'll update on the tropical storm, on the hurricane. Yeah, so I'll look at that in a second. I have a Twitter, but I don't post. And the thing that I have found when it comes to like Twitter and it comes to like those, I almost said pumps, when it's that with a lot of small caps and stuff, I may in the future do more, but I personally don't want to have to worry, to be honest, about tweeting about a stock, about this, about that. It takes up more time. I am on Twitter and I watch certain people who have large followings because they move stocks. It's true. Do I want to get myself remotely caught up into that stuff? No. So I don't know. I have a Twitter, but I don't tweet anything really. So I know people have said, yeah, make a group. Maybe in the future, I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to do that. I personally, because I'm already in a Discord group myself that I've paid for a while. I know people. I don't want to tell people that you got to pay for groups to do this, that, the other thing. You do you. You don't need to pay for anything. There's a lot of free information, and that's why I made the channel, because I don't want, I hope, some of the videos maybe, along the lines can help someone so that they don't have to pay, for all this stuff, and someone can just kind of get going and start learning on their own. That's how I see it. So, and I'm still, by no means am I some, crazy, I did well my first year trading penny stocks in the past year. But, lately things have been choppy, so I've been up and down, so it's been tough. I am thinking, though, about switching to cash account. I know I recommend to everyone who's new, I recommend a cash account. This platform is Webull Desktop. I don't want to, shameless plug, but I have a link down below, like I always do in all my videos, to get now it's like 3 free stocks with Webull now. You sign up, deposit $100, and you get like 3 free stocks into your account, which is an amazing sign-up bonus. But I always have links in the description for stuff like that, and stuff that has helped me, resources, the group that I'm a part of, that type of stuff. So I leave those resources there, but by no means do I ever tell someone or recommend people that you must pay for a course or a group. I did, but that was because I could at the time. I had some funds and I wanted to cut the learning curve. So that's how I've done it. But hopefully I made the channel so that people in the future could at least have, there's other resources too, but have at least, another resource to look at just for free. There's free information. All you got to do is watch an ad here and there and leave a thumbs up on the video. How hard is that? I mean, ultimately, I think that's a pretty fair trade-off for the information. Now, at the same time, there's the other kind of thought where it's like, well, people don't take it seriously unless they pay for it. There's that too, but I don't want to worry about that for now. Let's look at Ride. Let's look at Rides. This is Lordstown Motors. I think it could potentially hold up around this 16 level. Then we have a gap here under like 1550 down to like 15, so it could potentially fill this gap. It may actually be coming for this gap, and it may try to find some support under 15. I wouldn't be surprised based on how we're seeing a bunch of other SPAC plays, how we're seeing SPAQ going, how we're seeing Hyliion as of late, how we're seeing Workhorse as of late. The overall sector has been pulling back outside of some like Tesla. Tesla's been up there pretty well. NIO has been very strong, but it's been pulling back, so we'll see. It could fill this gap. That's my next concern. So maybe it comes down to this gap. We'll see. I might draw this in here. Horizontal line, I'll draw this in so we kind of get a sense as to it's a small gap, though, to be honest, if we do get there. But that's your area that it may look to come down and fill that gap. Because many times on a chart like that, you'll see stocks fill the gaps. You will. Technical traders will get it to fill those gaps. Yes. So when it comes to the hurricane stuff, it's going to be, for me, it's tomorrow or nothing. So it's either it goes tomorrow or it doesn't. I've been watching, like I mentioned with the whole Twitter thing, I've been watching people because I remember, who called it. I saw people on Twitter who were calling it out and then it popped. It went off in some chat rooms and stuff like that. So the second that it got talked about in some of those chat rooms, boom, PPSI went last time. I was in before that, obviously, which is awesome, which is the goal. So I'm in it again. But if we don't get a pop tomorrow, then I'm just probably going to just, move on because the storm is not as talked about. PPSI may have been potentially overplayed, although because it moves so much, I'm surprised I haven't been seeing as much talk about PPSI lately. But I think it has a lot of potential for tomorrow if it catches. And if we wake up, the storm strengthening and things like that. So it's anticipated to strengthen tomorrow and hit, I believe, the Category 1, potentially maybe max Category 2. I don't think it's going to be a Category 3. So we'll see what happens with PPSI. But if it does, if the storm is looking strong in the morning, there's enough media attention on it, it may transition to traders who run it up. And we could see, if I'm looking for a move, I'd be looking for a move to $3.50, $4. And then at that point, I'd be taking most off the table because I don't want to be risking myself any further for a drop, for an offering or something like that. So I'd be careful. I follow a bunch of people in the space. Stockwatch, I watch a lot of people's stuff just to get either ideas people are up to, if I miss something, stuff like that. So I follow a lot of people like that. But on Twitter and stuff, there's people with large followings, people who are traders with, and I don't mean anything. There's nothing negative against these people, but they have large followings, and so when they tweet about certain stocks, and especially if they're low float, right, or they're small cap stocks, penny stocks, then they can legitimately move the stocks. And that's the danger, that if you're in the stock or you're not in, or you're buying it when it pops up, many times you'll get a further dip. And then if you like the play, the dip is where you want to be buying. You don't want to be getting caught up into all the kind of craziness. You want to be buying the dip. That's the ultimate key. Buy the dip. Buy the dip. When you buy the dip, it keeps on dipping. I know that's kind of one of those memes, but whatever. Yeah, so TTCF saw some volume. I appreciate it. I appreciate the kind words. I do. I try to just, I enjoy this stuff, and this is a time right now too where we have the election, volatility. We got a lot of stuff kind of rumbling around, so it's fun. It's a fun time to be in the market. It's a fun time, even if you're not in the markets or if you're in a long-term investment. Even if that's the case, it's fun just to kind of stay up to date and watch this stuff. I like it a lot. So we'll see what happens. Let's see, PSTH. Let's take a look at PSTH. I don't have much info on PSTH. I don't know. I do want to look at TTCF. I want to see if they had anything today. Let's see. Do they have any press releases? Do they have any headlines? Do they have any SEC filings? No, nothing. So it may have just been a pop today on TTCF, just because it's been volatile. It really has. It really has. I mean, look at some of these. These are some significant moves intraday. I mean, we had this one day where it went from it said this is a monster. I bought this dip and then sold it up here when this happened, but it dipped to 16. It was up at 22. That's a massive dip. So it's not uncommon for TTCF to make 10% moves in a day. It's just not. Let's see. YNN, Wynn. Wynn Resorts. Let's see. This one I know is a great. These are some good options, or potentially some good recovery stocks to look at. So it's actually been pretty decent, holding up. It looks like right here. So let me draw a trend line in here, because we like to draw trend lines all the time. Come on, where's my trend? There we go. Come on, there. There it is. There it is. So we have something like that. So we have a nice support right here at the 68-ish area. So it's solid. If it falls through that, I would anticipate it to fall further. But to be honest, with reopening stocks, resorts, cruise lines, airlines, anything along those lines, even commercial real estate like REITs, I'm just skeptical right now because we see cases going back up. Yes, we're testing more, but cases are going back up, so the numbers look bad. We may see further shutdowns, potentially a change in the presidency could issue more widespread lockdowns, shutdowns, mandates, masks, this, that, and the other thing, which could cause some more restrictions short term, so that's my only concern with some of these types of stocks. So for me, if I'm looking for a play to buy a put on, to short, to bet the market to go, or to bet the stock to go down, if the overall market's weak and this stock starts dropping below $68, this could be, a nice short for the next couple of days or for the rest of the week, or just for an intraday significant drop down. If we do drop through that support, that's what we're kind of looking at for Wynn. At least that's how I see it. Then we kind of have this downtrend here. So we're coming to a point. So either we're going to break out to the upside or downside, I think. Soon we're coming to a point. That's good. This is a good time to be looking at the stock because either you're going to get a push down or a push up. So that's what I see. Found you a few months ago, new to trade this year. Love your, appreciate it. The lives are fun because it's just a super chill thing. We like to, especially on Sundays. We get the most people coming in on Sundays. Same thing, 8 p.m. Eastern on Sundays. It's fun. I try to do a couple during the week if I can, like this. So I just kind of hopped on. Why not? Interesting week. We may have some more news tomorrow. Maybe a wild day. We're looking down right now in the futures. So generally, if we open down, we'll see what happens. That means, but it's generally, with this open down, we may see some more downside, and we're very close to some areas of support on SPY. So let me pull up SPY and show you what I'm talking about there with some areas of support. So we look at the 4-hour chart. I want to zoom in to, I think it was yesterday. So today was a decent day. Up and down, and then it came down towards the end, and after hours were down, so that's why it looks down. But if we break down below this 335 on SPY, that's probably not good. That's probably going to signal a further downside move. And then we'd be looking to find some areas of support here. So then you want to look to some areas that we wick down to, that we held up support in the past. That's what we're looking at. So do we have a chance? Can we come down to this 319 area? I don't know, maybe. If we have some bad news or potentially into next week into the election with some volatility and uncertainty. I think it will be very, very telling come Friday. We're going to see LCA will be bigger than DraftKings. I like LCA long term. I do. So it's going to be very telling on Friday. Do we see massive sell-offs into the end of the week? If we do, that's people saying, hey, I'm not sure what's going to happen with next week's election. I'm going to take my money off the table now. We might see a massive sell-off Friday, and then if there's no news over the weekend for stimulus, if there's no positive news, macro economy-wise, further sell-offs Monday. So I wouldn't be surprised. That would be my gut, but of course, anything can happen. News can come out, anything can happen to change that. Workhorse, I believe there were some more shorts attacking it. There was some more information. I think there was some more, another group, someone put out something. I'm going to look further into that one tomorrow. But I believe there were some more shorts that attacked Workhorse today. So it's been taking some hits. But it's coming down to it, for those who are kind of new or at least came on recently, it's coming down to a decent buy area that I like because this is an area, this consolidation that we had back in here. So I want to see it get into this area, which is coming down close to. That's a good buy zone for me. So that's what I'd be looking to buy, some Workhorse. But I'm not going to buy anything long until post-election because I want to see what happens. Let's shake things out. If we get further dips, if we get further sell-offs, buy the dip. This is going to be, for those who are so concerned that they missed the run-up from March, here's your chance. If we get a big-time dip, here's your chance, right? Here is your opportunity to jump in, grab these dips for either long positions, just buy and hold long-term investments, short-term stuff that got oversold for no reason. They're still catalysts, whatever. So that's my thoughts on what's going down. So let's see. TD Ameritrade, Webull. Okay, so all the brokers. So I have all of them. I'll tell you that. I use Webull for more active stuff. TD Ameritrade I have as well. M1 I have for an IRA, and Robinhood I have a longer term swing. So, and I hold cash in Robinhood because they have the cash management stuff. So I like them all, but they all have different purposes. So Webull's great for more your active trading. It's not the best if you're a super big time, high profile in terms of amount of shares traded in and out, quick day trader. Probably not the best as of right now. You'll probably want to go to like a broker like Trade Zero or like something like that, E-Trade Pro or something like that if you're a very high, if you're a high volume trader like that. But for me, I'm not like a super quick scalper. I'm not trading massive amounts of shares, so Webull does the job for me. And 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern trading hours, I love. What you can do, for example, for DGLY, and we'll see if it works out, but this stock ran on up after hours here. It's up, let's see, it's up 5% after hours, up 15% in the day. So I have some orders. I bought some here at the end of the day. I have some orders here for tomorrow morning, and I may wake up tomorrow morning to have those sell orders hit because it was a very strong positive momentum to end the day. Let me look at let's look at the 5 minute to show you guys. It pushed up strong, so this may be a gapper where it gaps up and boom. Where most brokers you'll have to look to, and you can only trade from like 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern, right? Or Robinhood, you can't even trade like all those market hours, so they have even more restrictive market hours on Robinhood. So for the hours and for a more active trader, I guess, I like Webull and what they've been doing with the desktop platform. Robinhood, I think, is fine for longer-term holds, longer-term investments. I think it's totally fine. You can even use it for options trading, to be honest. It's very simple if you know what you're doing. You can do options on there as well. M1, I like for my IRA for a longer-term account, buy and holds. And TD Ameritrade, I've used for more active trading as well. I've just found Webull's trading hours to be more kind of fun, and I liked it more. So I use that. But I also have an account with TD Ameritrade that I kind of messing around with, and I kind of just, I have some money in there, and I just throw it at some stocks, and we see what happens. I'm actually in TBLT in that account for right now. So we'll see how TBLT does, but if TBLT moves up, I'll make some money. I'll put it into my Webull. If I make a good amount of money in there, I'll push it somewhere else, and or I'll just use it for whatever I want at the time. That's how I have it. But the Webull account I have is the one that I show on the channel the most. Trading stocks to 100,000. So that's the playlist that we have, the series that we have going on. So I started at 15 a couple weeks back, and we're trying to trade that up to 100,000. Now there are ways for you guys to contribute to that account if you sign up to Webull using my referral link, like always. Shameless plug of the day. 3 free stocks with the link down below. So you can do that. That's always in my video descriptions. If you ever want Webull, if you ever need a friend, refer to your friend, whatever, there's some pretty good incentives for that stuff. So any free stocks I get on Webull, I just sell them and I keep the cash in my account. So you guys can contribute to that challenge if you would like. So we'll see. It's been tough with a margin account with the current environment because I primarily swing trade focused, but the past couple months, swing trades have been tough for what I trade. They've been very tough. So it's been a challenge as of late. That's why I'm thinking about going to cash, depending on what happens in the election. Maybe I sell out of my stuff and go to cash. We'll see. But that's my thoughts. CATB. Let's take a look at CATB. Look at the daily chart. Oh, so this is a pop. This could be like a dead cat bounce. So negative news, coming back strong. Yeah, so either what you can do here is play this for an like a scalp where you can look to quickly get a bottom and pop. I would personally want to let this settle for at least a little bit. That's fine. Let's consolidate and find some support. But this is a massive gap candidate. So we can kind of see this thing consolidating for a little bit. Potentially, who knows where it settles down to. But if it ever gets good news, this is a massive, this black space right here, we love to see that because when a stock starts recovering and gets into that gap, many times it fills a good chunk of that gap or fills the whole thing. So that would be awesome. But I personally want to see it kind of consolidate a little bit more. Personally, after bad news like that, give it some time, let things kind of, settle down a little bit, and then I would be looking for an entry on that. Let's see. Tesla recalled a lot of cars in China. Yes. I don't know if Tesla's going to take too much of a hit from that, to be honest. Let's see. Let's see how Tesla's been doing. It's holding up pretty well. I think long-term Tesla's going to be just fine. If we actually were to see if we can draw a trend line in here, we're actually right at that trend. So we hit this trend 1, 2. It's like a good trend. So it's bouncing for right now. So this could be a decent breakout candidate if it does start popping back above this 460 level, and potentially to all-time highs. So I have Tesla long-term. I like it. So that's my thoughts on Tesla, at least for right now. VVPR to the moon if Biden wins. Yeah, a bunch of those types of. Let's take a look at VVPR. A bunch of these types of energy-related stocks, power companies, these types of that sector. Could be very hot. So VVPR, I want to see it come down a little bit further towards like just under 6 would be a decent spot for me to grab some of that support. That's at least what I like based on the chart right there. So I'll talk more about some of those types of stocks as we kind of get to that, as we get closer to that bridge. We'll cross that, I guess, when we get there in a sense. So we'll see. DOYU. I know ARK's been on this, but for me, I think I talked about this one recently. I just want to see it make a more sustained move. I don't know as much about it as I probably should to make a trade or make an investment, so I'm personally not in it, but it's got to either break out to the upside here, break out of this downtrend, or, we'll see where it comes down to. It comes down to support or something like that. So we'll see. Looking forward to the next side. Yeah, appreciate it. Come back, anytime. You're welcome back anytime. Let's see. Keeping my eyes on it. Looking for that consolidation. Yep, no problem. FNKO. Let's see. Funko. This is starting to push up. Seems like it took a decent hit back in here. Back in the beginning of the old shutdowns. Pandemic really took it down pretty far. But it's recovering, and it made a decent pop today of 9%. So I want to see it get over this 775, this high right here. So we get over that level, and then we have some room up. And then if we can get over that, over this 1030, we get into the gap, and then we have some juice into the gap. So it's starting to pop above this 200 SMA. The 50 SMA held up. That's a good sign. It's a bullish sign for right now. But does it come back down and consolidate here again and bounce, or does it go from here? That'll be the ultimate question. It's got to break past this level right here, I would say, first, because we have a previous area of resistance for whatever reason was right there, and then eventually it's going to be right there as our next level to break above. So that's what I'd be watching for FNKO. UPS. Let's take a look at UPS. UPS. So I had this little line for UPS. It popped down below, fell off a 50 SMA, so it's right here. So it's either what I think is going to happen with UPS. It's either, and we're after hours, we're up. Let me get a 4-hour chart, better sense. So yes, so either we're going to see is it's going to get rejected here at these highs, or tomorrow market pushes up, UPS pushes up, we get a breakout. Now, that's good and all, but again, with the market potentially being down, so again, we're down about 0.5% in the futures right now. Market being down, it could prohibit this breakout, so you may actually see this get rejected. Although it seems like it went up, it had a strong after hours here. It's going to have to break above this level, and then eventually above 179 for some further moves to the upside. So that's what I'll be watching with UPS for tomorrow. Breaks above 179, 180, that could be a decent pop, a good breakout. If it breaks for 179, 180 calls could be a decent play for an intraday trade. It's my thoughts, at least, on UPS. YGYI. YGYI. Yeah, popped. It's been popping lately. Must have had some news a couple days ago. I forget. I remember it was in the morning. It was running on up. I don't know. It's not something that I would like to be trading. I like to be trading it down in here if it comes back on down towards this 60 cents or so, under 75 cents. But But generally, if you break over $1, that's a pretty strong area. So we got to break over this 104. That's your next area to look for. The break over $1 and the 104 for a continuation move up. DKNG, yeah, I like this one for a bounce as well. It was pretty sold off. Well, actually, look at that. I haven't looked at this in a while. But it has broken down off of this trend. Does that mean anything? It can find support right here. I don't know. I don't see DKNG going that much lower as well, but it did kind of crack this trend. So for me, I would be staying away because I like that type of trend. But I would be waiting on this one. I'd be waiting post-election for something on this one, personally. See what happens. See if we get a further shakeout down to the downside. And then we'll reassess after the election. That's my thoughts. I don't know. It's come down significantly. So I think it's bound to reverse at some point. It is oversold here on the RSI, so it's worth looking at for a potential bounce. Some other areas it got close to, it bounced, in the past, so it may very well make a bounce. And if you're looking to scalp something off the bottom, that could be a decent idea. But for me, I would just personally be staying away. Based off the market, if the market is looking red, I would not be playing it. If the market's up, this could be a good bounce candidate for sure. CSCW. I don't know anything about it from what I believe. Well, let's take a look. So this guy, CSCW, this actually doesn't look terrible. So it found support here around 40-ish, and it's holding up. It's above 50. That's a good. When we see a small cap or a penny play get above 50, that's a good sign. So 50 cents is usually a pretty strong support. Let me go to the daily chart, but it seems like this 50 SMA is our current resistance. So we got to break above this 65. We get above 65 cents, that's a good sign. So I want to see it get above 65 and then eventually back over 75 for a further move on up. It's probably going to need news though. Just my thoughts. Probably going to need some news. And I'm not too sure. I haven't done any personal DD myself, so I don't know if it's got news coming soon. Earnings for UPS tomorrow morning at 8:30. Okay, so that's it. So it's up after hours, but be careful on the earnings tomorrow. If it has good earnings and it rips through that 180, great. That's a great sign. Let's see. CBAT looks good. Bull flag. Let's take a look. Yeah, here it is. So it's coming. It's at this support. So this is a good play off this support. This 275 is holding up right now as your support. So I want to see it make a reversal, break out of this downtrend, and it may have a decent move out of this downtrend. But if we do crack below, that's probably not a good sign either. So we're coming down to a point. It looks like we're going to make a move very, very soon on CBAT. Wouldn't be surprised if it's tomorrow. Tex. Let's take a look at Tex. I don't know much about Tex. Technology Bear ETF. That's what Tex is. So okay, so here you go. So this is not bad, but it's a daily 3x ETF. So what you would want to be looking at is looking at this pretty much against the NASDAQ. So you want to have the NASDAQ, which I have on the bottom right. Pull the NASDAQ up, see what the NASDAQ's doing. The NASDAQ's looking bearish, the NASDAQ's going down. Then you could play this, but I would not hold this for more than like a couple days max. And if you don't get the continued move to your direction in a couple days, it's very possible that the NASDAQ, or tech stocks in general, tech may actually be the same price. Let's say NASDAQ is at whatever, right? Let's say the NASDAQ's at 11.4. The NASDAQ could be at 11.4, and let's say next week at Thursday or whatever, the NASDAQ could still be at 11.4, or it could have made moves in between. But you actually can lose money on this trade. So that's my only concern here with techs. That's my only concern. That's my thought. So it's more of a day trade or a very short-term swing. You've got to catch that move, and it's got to go your way. Or if it doesn't, you can get screwed if you hold overnight or hold a couple of days or hold over the weekend. So if you do the math into how these 3 times ETFs are actually calculated, look into how they work, spreadsheet it out. If you do the math, you actually lose money. You're actually going to lose money if the stock doesn't move your direction intraday if you're holding overnight, if you're holding for a couple of days. So that's my thoughts. NBY, but it's a good play for if the market goes down. That's a good play. NBY. So NBY, it's just like this is a mask play. This is one of those stocks that it's coming down. It's got to find some things. So what I would keep this on a watch list. I'd keep this on a mask related watch list. This is a classic mask play. Early on, back in the beginning of the pandemic, we saw this thing running a lot. So if we do have, let's say, post-election, let's say we got a change in office, everyone's saying that you may be looking at some nationwide mask mandates. If that's the case, if we get some mask mandates, this is one of those stocks you want to watch for a quick spike, and it's going to spike, and it's going to come right back down, probably. So if we get some nationwide mask mandates, that's a decent idea for one of those types of plays. So that's my thoughts on NBY. So again, futures are down. Let's see, just about 0.5% for right now across the board. Generally, tech's down a little bit less, but that's that. Let's see. XTNT confused the chart. Let's take a look at XTNT. So, looks like support. So, what we see on this type of chart is, right, we see a lot of spikes, which is good. If you are someone experienced trading these types of stocks and you know how to sell into these spikes and know how to set your orders in advance, that's good. What I like right here, what it seems like, and we can draw something in, we can draw a trend line, but it may not perfectly hold this trend. It seems like we have a little bit of a 118 area right here, then a 130, and then right now we're holding up above that 130. So I wouldn't want to see it drop below, looks like 135 to make those higher lows, but it may come down, and if it falls through 130, this wick down, and then potentially here to this 125-ish area, could be your next levels of support. If it falls below that, then I would look to see if it come down towards, further down below. Maybe it holds up around $1. If not, maybe 75 cents or something along those lines. But that's how I see XTNT right now. So it has somewhat of an uptrending support for right now based on what we're seeing on the chart, but it could come down or it could hold this level up. So I'd be watching to see how that performs in the coming days. Let's see. Yes, NIO did. Here's NIO. Boom. There's my downtrend. There's a breakout. So I like it. I do like it. But my only concern is that if you're looking to go long NIO tomorrow, my only concern is the overall market. If the overall market is not super duper red, you may get a nice pop in the morning. But if the overall market is overly red, it may prohibit that breakout above 30 potentially. But above 30 is what I like to see. OPK. This has made a pretty good run up, and it's holding up for right now. So right now it's coming down. It's trying to develop some support at this $4 for right now, and then it looks like it has a potential support at 385-ish. So $4, 385 would be some areas to look to add. I don't know much about OPK, to be honest, but that's at least based on what I'm seeing for right now. That's what I like. But it looks like it's made some significant moves over the past couple of months. Some serious moves. This consolidation was a great one to get in for that move. Now maybe looking to try to do something similar for a further move. But again, if we got to pop above $5, above 475, then above 5, that'd be a nice breakout or bigger move to the upside. So we hold these levels, that's a good sign. We can't hold these levels. I would anticipate it to come back down towards the low 3s or a $3 support if it falls or it falters down below there. Yeah, TBLT, it might just take long, You have a good night too, Brendan. But honestly, it's just what you'll see with the small caps when large caps have earnings. They will try not to drop a press release because they're competing with a lot of attention on those earnings reports. So they're not going to get the most bang for their buck, right? They're not going to get the biggest move in their stock price if there's people's attention somewhere else. So TBLT might just take some time. It's a patience play for me. Holding it, going to be adding on dips. That's it. Weed companies are a gamble. And the ones that I have, I want to clear up the video that I have from a couple days or weeks back. Those are stocks that when the weed sector's hot, they like to run. Those are not my favorite buy and hold weed companies. No, those are just stocks that when weed goes, those stocks go. And that's how I play when I'm talking about penny stocks, you have to kind of anticipate. And a great documentary that I think you should watch is The China Hustle. I believe it's on Hulu. If you can get access to that, that one is great. So watch that, then come back to penny stocks and even just China stocks in general, right? Then reassess and look at those. You'll look at those stocks a lot differently once you watch that. So if you're trading penny stocks, always in the back of your head saying, no, take profits, don't be stupid, and know when to cut your losses and manage your risk. You don't want to be going all in on a penny stock. Of course, you could go all in on Apple calls and lose all your money, right? That's risky. But if you were to go all in on Apple trade, right, that's not as risky as going all in on, let's say, trading, I don't know, AIHS is one of those stocks, one of those China stocks that's been running on up lately. AIHS. I mean, it just makes no sense. These stocks eventually will delist. It's the rinse and repeat cycle. A lot of these penny stocks. So that's my thoughts. Which stock would you buy tomorrow for a day trade? Personally, if I had to pick a day trade stock, it potentially could be a Bitcoin stock. So we'll see what Bitcoin's up to. So Bitcoin is pushing. Bitcoin is looking really good. So Bitcoin's been up today. I'm in Riot myself. I'm actually in a $4 average just for a speculative trade. But if I needed to trade something tomorrow morning, I wake up at whatever time in the morning and I see that, Bitcoin is running. If Bitcoin breaks over 14,000, that's going to get a lot of attention. And if it does, and potentially when, I think it's going to happen, right? My personal thoughts. The reason why is because we're right at this level of resistance. I think we can certainly break through that. But if we do, we might be clear for till 20K. So Bitcoin may make a run at 20,000 over the next couple of weeks, and that would be massive. So that's why I like some Bitcoin plays. So Riot is one of those that I like a lot. And once we get this one to pop back on up, break back over 450, boom. MARA is one that I like a lot too. It's making a solid recovery, make a nice little round on up and a break back on up. You can even look to NXTD is another one that's in the same boat. XNET, XNET is trying right now. And then DPW. There will probably be a lot of other other stocks that people start saying, hey, they have Bitcoin ties too if Bitcoin starts running. But Bitcoin related stocks, and these are the ones on my list, that would be my pick if Bitcoin remains up where it's at and starts breaking out over 14,000. That's what I'm watching tomorrow, personally. So we'll see. OPTT tanked. Let's see what happened with OPTT. OPTT popped up, dropped today, so I don't know. Only down 5% on the day. It was not terrible, but it popped up. So did it have news? Did we have some news on OPTT? If we did, let's see. There's a press release. Today at 9 a.m. So Ocean Power Technologies contract, a decent headline, but it's your classic. I mean, for those who like it or for those who are in it, it's your classic pump and dump in a sense off of news like that. It's going to pop and then it's going to drop, especially if the market's not hot. So if small caps are not hot, and this morning there was not much going, there was not much running, pretty boring day for small caps. And when you have large cap stock earnings, you'll generally see something like that. So in a situation like that, you see earnings going on for large caps, you generally see a lot of volume taken away from small caps. And so that could be a reason why this didn't hold up today. And once it starts selling off, it's very easy for it to sell off, especially with the lower float. So that's that. TBLT is supposed to have some kind of tech coming fourth quarter. Yes, I believe TBLT's next thing is going to be infrared or something like that. Infrared type of something like that. Something related to that. So that's my thoughts. Not infrared, but it's like some type of, you know what I mean. Mark is one of those stocks. Thermal imaging, that's what I meant. Thermal imaging, I guess it could be infrared too. Thermal imaging is a potential avenue for TBLT. on top of being in Lowe's, selling out on Amazon, being in other stores in Canada, great earnings last time, potential increase in sales, massive sales increase potential for the earnings. There's a lot of stuff there. Run up into earnings. They release a PR. They've done it in the past. They are a company that will like to release PRs. I like it. So this is one of those stocks that I'm telling you right now, I like, and just because I have a different type of risk tolerance, doesn't mean everyone's going to be able to do the same thing. So for me, I don't care. I don't want to see it start dropping down below and making new lows. Yes, I don't want to see that. But I think TBLT is going to have a PR very, very soon, and I think they'll spike the stock price up. They may just be waiting for the right time, and this week may not be the best time to do so. Doesn't mean that they're not going to announce PR, because they may. But this week may not be the best time to do it in terms of getting the most attention on their stock with large cap earnings and lots of volume over there. So for TBLT, what I am doing is I am adding as it dips, so I'm waiting for it to come down a little bit further, potentially, if it does, into the 60s, and I will buy some more. If it doesn't, no big deal. I have enough for, right now. I'm looking for like 97 cents, just shy of $1. I want to see it hit that area. Then it breaks through $1. Let's say we get a PR. It pops immediately to $1, right? So the reason why you want to have money and have cash on hand to add the dips is for this exact reason. If you were to get TBLT at like 88 cents, and it pops to 90 cents or 93 cents or 97 cents, you make a few percent and that's it. You make 10%, okay? But for those who are able to average down and get a lower average, who may have an average potentially in the 70s as of right now, which I believe I do, you're able to get TBLT down here, and I would like to get a lower average as well. When TBLT makes a pop off of a press release, off of news, and it goes to 97 cents, and let's say it gets rejected at $1, it can't break $1, you at least are going to get a good chunk, 20 plus cent profit on TBLT. So that's your chunk of profit. That's why you always want to be averaging down. That's why if you're playing a catalyst type of play, something that has a catalyst like this, and there's multiple catalysts I can think of here, that is why you like to average down, accumulate more. You don't want to necessarily just go all in on momentum and think it's going to break out. It's people we're seeing a sell-off. Small cap's been taking a hit. Large cap earnings, less volume. Let it fall back and just add the dips if you still like it. If you're not willing to add the dips and you can't handle the risk, then don't play it. But that's kind of how I play it and how I've been successful in trading stuff like this that falls down towards support. You buy that dip, you buy it at support, you continue to buy it as it dips down towards the support level. So for right now, I want to see it come down potentially to 68 and then even low 60s potentially. We had a wick down here to 65, so maybe we get down to there. That's my thought. I think TBLT is at a decent spot, to be honest, right now. I think your floor is 62 cents. If it starts dropping below 62 cents, I'm personally going to stay in, and it's not because I'm bag holding or whatever. It's because there's a catalyst. There's a reason why I'm in the trade, so I'm going to continue to accumulate down, down, down if it falls, because that may just be massive manipulation before they run it. So that's what I'm thinking of, what may happen with TBLT. Yeah, infrared for TBLT. So PACD. So we actually been seeing some of these oil or drilling plays running at least lately. So this may actually have some potential tomorrow, or at least we saw USWS. We saw something else. I think PED is PED an oil play. PED is a let's take a look. PED, yeah, it's an energy, oil, gas. Yeah, so this is starting to run up a little bit, where it potentially it has previous history of some spikes. So I like PACD actually. I think I'm in JE right now, but it's similar type of idea. So you have what looks to be like a floor right here at 21 or 22. It's coming down towards that level of support that it's held up in the past, and it's spiked pretty well. So you have a decent shot for a spike. It's been a couple weeks, it looks like, since the last spike. So if we get some oilers running, this could be one of those plays, this energy type of play, drilling play that runs up. I like it. It's in a decent buy range for a nice little spike, a little run to the upside. So personally, I would have your order set. So have some orders set to the upside, 10%, whatever. Look, if you're looking at spikes like this, maybe have an order at like 33 cents, 34 cents, just in case. And if it runs past that, don't sell everything at that level. But in case you miss it, you have an average right here under like 24, under 25. Seems like that should be fine. Start setting your orders at like 33 cents, and so on. Just before these areas of resistance I would be setting. So maybe 37 cents, and then potentially like, 47 cents before 50 cents as a potential area of resistance. Would they ever get back to their price from 5 years ago? Probably not. No. We look at the like monthly chart now. So a lot of these stocks, what they do is they're just doing reverse splits. So they just continue to sell off, and they have their spikes. And so they're good for their like quick spikes, but they're not good for longer holds by any means. So that's all. And it seems like most of these spikes on PACD have been pre-market, so understand that it's pre-market, so you probably want to have orders set. So put a good till cancel if you're on Webull. You go to the sell section, you go to limit order, you go to whatever shares you want to set it at, you set your price, extended hours, click on yes, click on time and force, GTC for good till canceled, which is not going to cancel on you at the end of the day, and you should be good to go. That's how I do it. That's what I have set for DGLY for tomorrow. Popped up pretty nicely today. We'll see if we get a little continuation for tomorrow morning. I'm looking for it to get up to this area, and then potentially $3 will be the next area of resistance, and if we can get past that, then we'll see. So that's what I like to do. I have my order set in advance. CEI Energy merger play. Let's take a look at CEI. Camber Energy. CEI is always a fun one to play in the when you get a lot of those Oilers running. It seems like it's trying to find some support here at 75 cents. So that could be a decent spot. Under 80 cents, 75 cent support for looks like could be primed for a spike or a merger play too. Catalyst right there. So there you go. So we'll see. All right, so what else do we have? We have futures still around the same, about 0.5% down. Looks like we're going to be tomorrow. For right now, I don't know. Does that hold up? Do we have any news tomorrow morning, overnight? It's always fun to wait completely different from where they were when you went to bed. That's always fun to see. How do you check your average share price? It should tell you in your broker. Like it should tell you, like for me on like Webull, if I like unlock my trading features, which I have right here, if I click on that, it should tell me like there should be like a little sticker on the side. There's a setting you may have to do. You may have to add like a chart setting. So you have to go to chart settings on Webull, and then see. It should see. Let's see. Go to trade. Show cost basis line, show open orders, check those, at least on Webull. But if you have a different broker, you do that. And if you were to go like to your main account or to your positions section of your broker or of your account, it should tell you your average cost there as well. It can tell you like the last price, your average cost, percentage up or down for the day, stuff like that. So for Webull, it's if you go back to your account, which is like right here, it should tell you that your average cost in there on your positions or holdings section of your account. So I'm probably thinking about wrapping things up. It's about 9 p.m. at least here. I know it's getting 10 p.m. Eastern. So for those who are on the East Coast, it's getting bedtime. For those who'd like to go to bed at 10 o'clock. I have been someone who, especially now with, not much to do, to be honest. I like, stuff being shut down and, just general stuff like that. I've been going to bed pretty early. I get up pretty early too, but I've been going to bed pretty early. Kind of lame. I was just if I don't get a nap, if I wake up at like 5:30 usually, and that's Central Time. But I could fall asleep before 10. Honestly, if there was not much going on, I was tired. I could fall asleep before 10. So I'm kind of lame. But other than that, guys, I'm probably going to wrap things up. If you guys have not, if you like the broker that I've been using, that's the Webull platform. Here's my hat. I have a link to get 3 free stocks in the description box. Like always, also some other resources there that I've used that have helped me. If you are interested, I'll have some more videos. I'll have some videos tomorrow, so make sure you stay tuned for that. I have a couple of videos that I filmed that I just haven't been able to post because they're kind of more like general or kind of like they're not like a timely video, but like things have gotten interesting lately. So there's been a lot of news and stuff going on. So we'll see. Let's see. Other than that, guys, I'm trying to wrap things up soon. Not concerned about the overall market. Remember back in July, or it may just be a very short-term pullback and then a pop right after that. We'll see. I appreciate it, guys. So have a good night. I will see everyone in hopefully one of tomorrow's videos.
And we, of course, make sure you're subscribed here with notifications turned on so you don't miss live streams like every single Sunday. We do a live stream on Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. So that's awesome. That's like the most fun. Lots of ideas. Last week we got tons of comments, tons of people going back and forth in the comments. It was a lot of fun. So stay tuned for those on Sundays. Other than that, guys, I hope for everyone to have a green week. Even if the markets are red, hopefully you can kind of manage things so you don't take as much of a beating as the overall markets if they are red. But I think, we'll see. It's going to be a lot of fun into next week, into the election. So on that, guys, I appreciate everyone from tuning in. And make sure to leave a like on the video before you head out. And I will see you guys in a future video. Peace.